Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday morning, November 3rd. I'm going to touch on a lot of stuff today. If you don't like those kind of videos, don't watch. Several things happened at work yesterday, and I want to talk about a couple of those first, and then I will go into details about the EFT matrix re-imprinting session that I had on Saturday. So that's kind of what today's discussion is. Yesterday at work, I was talking to one of the gals, and we were kind of talking about why so many things keep being dropped through the cracks with people that they're working with, or whatever the case was. And I said, I'll be honest, this is what I think it is. I think 75% of the world is depressed. And when people are depressed, they do the bare minimum. And sometimes they barely do that. And I think that's one of the reasons why so many things just aren't flowing as well. And she goes, well, I think it's more than 75%. And I said, well, how much do you think it is? And she said, I think it's probably like 80 to 85. So that's my question to you. Do you have a feel for how many people in the world that you feel is depressed? And that could be like severely depressed, or just kind of doing the day by day, barely getting by, maybe getting up and taking a shower, but they are not doing any extra activities because they just can't do it. So I'm curious what your thought is on that. And then we have, so there was a point that I had like 4 people at my desk, divvying out oils and talking about different things. And it was kind of funny because it looked like we were having a party at my front desk. And for me, it was, because that's when I thrive, when we're having those kind of deep conversations. But we had a girl that came in, and I had a chance to, I can generally tell by the people that I work with when something is wrong. And so I had gone into one of the closing rooms where she was, and I was like, what's the matter? And she's like, you always know. And I'm like, what's wrong? And I kept going, what's wrong? And for a minute, she wasn't going to tell me, but finally she said, she's like, I put my 2 weeks in last night. And I was like, ugh. She is someone that I pretty much talk to every day. She may not be in my office, but I send a lot of calls to her. She used to work in my office. But when I say it feels, that event yesterday felt like the Titanic just took a big hit, and there's been a hole punched into the Titanic. That's the feeling that I have. Now, this may not necessarily be for the whole of where I work, but it certainly feels like that for me personally. I feel like that's going to affect my ability to enjoy some of the stuff that I do at work. It's just going to leave a big hole there. So that has kind of left me, and I haven't made any decisions whatsoever, but I am definitely processing what that news means to me and my life and my future. My dream, I think, would be to literally probably do past lives, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, 5 days a week, be able to raise my prices and have people afford them. I could raise my prices now, but I don't, because I know a lot of people can't afford a higher price. So I also look forward to the day when, everything gets shifted, the things that we are expecting come our way, and then we can kind of go about doing our mission or whatever it is that we dream of, instead of me sitting behind a front desk, because I'm starting to feel like maybe my time has come there. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm jumping the gate here. I mean, I'm not like miserable there by any chance, but I'm, I think this whole, whatever the astrology is of November 8th. Remember the other day I said there was going to be one aspect that was there was going to be something that hit my life. I feel like yesterday's news kind of hit my life. And it's not going to affect like the day to day, everything in my day to day, but it's certainly going to put a hole into it. So anyway, that being said, I want to talk about a session that I received on Saturday morning. Again, I met Simone a year ago in June. I decided to do tarot readings for a very, very brief moment, and it was probably literally to meet her. I have a feeling, because I didn't do any more after that, and I didn't even want to do them for you guys, because it was just weird. It was like I was getting this push to do tarot readings again, and then as soon as I started, I was like, I don't know what that was all about. But I met Simone through that process, and then she reached out to me last week after, again, I had my little meltdown at work, and she wanted to offer what she does to me, which is EFT, or emotional freedom technique, which is tapping, and also matrix re-imprinting. So it kind of goes together. So if you don't know anything about that, I'm going to do the best I can to explain. But I'm also going to give you her email address if you just want more information on it. It's info at tapping, TAPPING, and AND truthing, TRUTHING.com. So if you just want more information about it, reach out to her. So we had this session last Saturday morning. It was 8 a.m. my time and 1 o'clock her time. And the first thing she asked me was, "Are you wide awake?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, "I've been up since 5 o'clock." So she did a fabulous job of explaining the tapping points and how they are partially acupuncture points. And Simone, I am sorry, I am probably going to butcher some of this, but I am not a professional at this. I know enough to be dangerous. But she was really, really good at explaining like why you tapped here and why you did this. And I even, after we got done, I was like, you know what? I find myself like holding my wrist sometimes and even like tapping on the top of my head, not even knowing why. So her education on the tapping was very helpful, because I have tried it in the past. Never really resonated with me. I had a really, really good friend that used it a lot, and she said it resonated with her, but for me, it never like was super, it wasn't one of those that I really got into. But so she kind of asked some questions, and we were talking about my issues with being ignored. I think was one of the things I felt ignored. But what we did was it took me back to a time when I was, when I graduated from college, I felt like my dad would have rather have been any place else but at my college graduation. Now, at that age, I did not understand whatsoever why in the world my dad wouldn't want to be there. I know now that it was probably his own self-esteem issues that was making him uncomfortable. He did not graduate high school. He was a mason, bricklayer, blue collar, and in his head, probably a lot of people that graduated from college or parents that were there had a lot more money than he did. I paid most of my way through college. He didn't help with that. So I know now, as a 58-year-old woman, I feel like he was having his own, whatever going on. But I felt that from him. And so one day after I graduated, I decided that I was going to, I'm not going to use the word ambush, but it kind of was an ambush. And I got him in the truck and took him for a drive, because I wanted to have control of the situation and not have him like be able to get away from me. And I pulled over, and we had a talk, and it didn't really go anywhere. I mean, he said he was sorry that he was sorry I felt that way, but it felt like there was no, we didn't rectify anything that day. If anything, it probably built a bigger wall around my heart because I opened up or tried to open up, but it didn't, it didn't work out that great. So she took me through some different things, to kind of get myself in a different perspective. But one of the things she did was she had me get in a circle, and she goes, who else do you have that, like, right now, that you would reach out to get some comfort from? And there was no one showing up in that circle. As a young adult female, I did a lot of things that a lot of people in my immediate family didn't do. I was kind of one of the first ones in my immediate family to graduate college. And I had friends, like I had a cousin who basically disowned me when I moved from Southern Illinois to Indianapolis, and probably, maybe she felt abandoned or whatever. So early on, and even when I was working at the Olive Garden, when I first moved to Indianapolis, after I got out of school and moved up here, actually the second time, and I was selling real estate, I found that I was not able to share my successes with a lot of people because they were not excited for me. And that is very unfortunate. And some of you may have experienced this before as someone who has had success, but you have other people in your life that are not experiencing those. So they are, and there's that phrase, crabs in a bucket, where they want to pull you down as you are trying to rise. And sometimes it has felt that way for me, because early on, I had a mission, and I was like hell-bent to get out of that town. College was not an option. I was going to school, come hell or high water. I had certain things that I wanted to achieve. And as I was kind of speeding off, doing my thing, I left a lot of people behind. And I'm not really friends with them anymore because we outgrew each other, which is fine. That happens a lot. But it also explains a lot of why I keep myself where I am at, because, and I don't even feel like I'm that successful, truly, but maybe other people see me as successful or are intimidated by me or whatever. But anyway, long story short, she asked me what my dad was feeling in the truck. And I said, well, he's anxious because I'm kind of I'm in the zone where I go when I do my past life readings or a quantum healing session. So I was kind of in that space, and I was like, he's antsy. He knows he's in trouble. And she's like, well, how could you have done this differently where maybe he would not have felt like he was behind the 8 ball and in trouble? Well, I would have taken him for a walk on the property that he owned, up the lane that went up the back, instead of getting him in the truck and taking him out of his comfort zone. That was probably my big mistake then. I would have done it differently. And so we went through a whole thing, and she had me tapping, I'm bawling my head off. And she's like, tap here, do this, da 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 da. She's saying different things, making me say different things. And we had a different rewrite of that story. Now, I will say, I have done rewrites on other stories in my life, but I didn't do the tapping along with it. I just went in, and I'm like, I didn't necessarily like how that ending was. And I remember doing like 4 or 5 of them one day, and I was just like, if I could redo this, I would have liked this ending better. So you can try that, or you can call her or email her and have her do like the full thing with you to unwrap a lot of that wounding that is around. I have other ones that I know I need to work on. And I'm happy to say I'm not crying as I'm having this. I just realized that. I'm like, I'm not crying. I'm not emotional about it. I can talk about it as an observer. So I feel like at some point in time, those of us who are in the healing capacity, we've all been practicing our stuff for a while. And once kind of this big shift happens and people have more money, I think that's the key, is when people have more money, when they get this financial stuff reset, when we're not having to work like slaves all the time, we will have the money to spend on healing. And I look forward to that for everybody, because healing does feel good. It doesn't at the time when you're bawling your head off and you're reliving that thing that caused so much pain in the first place. But when you come out on the other side of it, I'm like, I have spent years, and it probably started in 2009, of like when I started with the oneness blessing. It's like when I started with the oneness blessing, unwrapping a lot of that pain and emotional crap that was inside of me. It's like I've been working on that stuff forever, trying to get rid of that. And so anyway, one last thing before I go. This is totally off subject of what I just talked about and has nothing and is very random, but I went to bed very early last night because I just was tired, and I was like processing the news from work yesterday. And so I got up like really early this morning, and we have a birthday party at work tomorrow. So I made brownies at like 4:30 this morning. But I want to tell you about a recipe. Cheap, easy, and everybody loves it. It's the Ghirardelli dark chocolate is what I use. I make it just like I always make it. And then right before I stick it in the oven, I stir in about 10 drops of doTERRA peppermint oil. Now this is pure stuff, so you can use it internally and as food flavorings and stuff. But one of the girls at work she's like, would you bring those? She calls them Christmas brownies. I must have brought them for Christmas the first year, but to her, they seem like Christmas brownies. They are like the best go-to when you need some sort of like little thing to take. And again, like a box of this is like $2 or $3, and some oil and an egg and some of this flavoring. You can even make it orange. I don't like the orange as well. I like the peppermint. It kind of tastes like York's peppermint patties, only not quite as strong. It's more chocolatey than pepperminty, but it is really, really good. And I undercook them, so they're like almost like gooey and chewy and kind of like cake pops almost. I don't know. Anyway, that's my random recipe for the day. Have a good one. I still want to know what percentage you think we have the depressed people in the world. You guys may include yourself in that. I don't feel like I include myself in that. I mean, I have bad days every once in a while. I've been depressed before. I am not in that point right now. So anyway, I am wishing you all a wonderful day. I cannot wait until November 8th or anything in between now and then, and whatever happens, something big is going to happen. I don't know what it is, and I don't even care what it is. But I know good things are coming. I know it. I feel it. And I cannot wait to see how this story ends. Talk to you later. Bye.